Welcome to this deep dive, and we're going to be looking at some very promising research for Parkinson's disease.
Oh, very promising.
You sent over this excerpt from SciTech Daily about some scientists at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and they're working on something really remarkable.
It's pretty incredible.
A system that uses nanoparticles and lasers.
Lasers.
Yeah, lasers to actually reverse Parkinson's in mice.
Wow.
It sounds like science fiction, but the implications are huge.
It really is incredible work, and, it really tackles one of the most fundamental challenges in Parkinson's.
Which is?
Those protein clumps that just wreak havoc in the brain.
Right. Those clumps called Lewy bodies are made up of a protein called α-synuclein or α-syn.
Right.
And this is where things get interesting because the researchers have designed these nanoparticles to not only stimulate the right neurons, but also break down those clumps.
Yeah.
It's a two-pronged attack.
Exactly. And let's not forget, Parkinson's is the second most common neurodegenerative disease impacting millions worldwide. And the current go-to treatment, deep brain stimulation, or DBS, involves implanting electrodes into the brain.
Okay.
While it can help with movement symptoms, it's a pretty invasive procedure.
Yeah, brain surgery is not exactly a walk in the park.
Right.
And I read that DBS doesn't address the underlying protein problem. So even with the stimulation, those Lewy bodies are still lurking, causing damage.
You're absolutely right. And that's what makes this new research so exciting. It's like this beacon of hope in a field that really desperately needs new treatment options.
So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How does this so-called nano-DBS system actually work?
So imagine this. Tiny nanoparticles are injected into a very specific region of the brain called the substantia nigra.
Okay.
This area is critical for movement and is severely affected in Parkinson's.
So I'm picturing like a tiny syringe delivering these nanoparticles right into the brain. What happens next?
Well, these nanoparticles aren't just any nanoparticles. They're like tiny guided missiles. They have antibodies on their surface that act like a homing device, locking onto specific dopamine-producing neurons with a receptor called TRPV1.
So they bypass healthy cells and zero in on the ones that are crucial for dopamine production.
Right.
Clever. But where do the lasers come in? Are we talking about like beams shooting into the brain?
It's not as dramatic as it sounds.
Okay.
The researchers use a near-infrared laser which can safely pass through tissue.
Okay.
Now, the nanoparticles are designed to absorb this laser light and convert it into heat.
Okay, so we've got targeted nanoparticles absorbing laser light and generating heat right at the source of the problem. What does that heat actually do?
That heat does some pretty amazing things.
Okay.
Firstly, it activates the TRPV1 receptors on the neurons, causing them to fire and release dopamine, mimicking the effect of traditional DBS, but without the need for implanted electrodes.
So we're stimulating dopamine production from the outside in using light and nanoparticles. It's pretty mind-blowing.
It is, but there's another trick up their sleeve. The nanoparticles are also loaded with these special peptides called leucine peptides. Think of them as tiny Pac-Man characters gobbling up those protein clumps.
Pac-Man cleaning up the brain. I love that analogy, but how does Pac-Man actually work in this scenario?
Well, our cells have a natural cleaning system called autophagy. Imagine it, like tiny recycling sensors inside each cell breaking down old or damaged parts.
Okay.
These leucine peptides essentially direct those recycling centers to focus on those harmful α-syn aggregates. With a little heat from the nanoparticles, they help clear the clutter more efficiently.
Wow, so it's a two-pronged attack, stimulating dopamine production and cleaning up the mess that's causing the problem. This is incredible stuff.
It is, and what's truly remarkable is that the researchers actually tested the system in mice with the Parkinson's-like symptoms, and the results were incredibly promising. They saw a restoration of the dopamine neuron network, increased dopamine production, and improvements in motor function.
So we're talking about a potential treatment that's less invasive, more precise, and might actually address the root cause of Parkinson's.
Exactly, and while it's important to remember that this is still early-stage research in mice, the implications are huge. This could potentially be a game changer for the millions of people living with Parkinson's.
It's hard not to get excited about the possibilities, but I'm sure there's a long road ahead before this technology reaches humans.
Absolutely. But the initial findings are certainly reason for optimism, and that's what we'll delve into in the next part of this deep dive.
Stay tuned. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back. It's fascinating to delve deeper into this groundbreaking research, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's hard not to get carried away, thinking about the possibilities. We left off talking about those amazing results in mice, but I have to ask, what are the biggest hurdles you see in translating this technology from mice to humans? The human brain is a lot more complex.
That's a great question, and you've hit on one of the key challenges scaling up from mice to humans is a significant leap. One hurdle is ensuring those nanoparticles can navigate the vast network of the human brain
Yeah.
and effectively reach their target in the substantia nigra. It's like comparing a small town to a bustling metropolis. The complexity and scale are vastly different.
So it's not just about injecting more nanoparticles. It's about making sure they can find their way in that intricate brain landscape.
Precisely. And then there's the question of long-term safety and effectiveness. We need to know if these nanoparticles will hang around in the brain for too long or if there are any unintended consequences down the line.
Right, it makes sense to be cautious. But those initial findings in mice are so promising. Imagine a future where a simple injection in a non-invasive laser treatment could significantly reduce tremors, improve mobility, and maybe even bring back some lost cognitive function that would be life-changing for so many people.
Absolutely. Even if it doesn't completely reverse the damage, the potential to slow down or halt the progression of Parkinson's would be a major victory. But we need to be realistic about the challenges. Parkinson's is a complex disease, and it affects everyone differently.
So finding the right dosage, figuring out the optimal laser settings, and tailoring the treatment to each individual's needs will be crucial.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And then, of course, there are the practical considerations of cost and accessibility. If this nano DBS system ever makes it to the clinic, it needs to be affordable and available to everyone who needs it.
Those were all valid points.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that even with breakthroughs like this, there's a long road ahead. But shifting gears a bit, what really intrigues me is the idea that this technology could be bigger than just Parkinson's. Is that right?
You're spot on. What's fascinating here is that this nano DBS system isn't just a potential treatment for Parkinson's. It's a platform technology. Think of it like a versatile toolbox.
Okay.
We can tweak those nanoparticles, change the laser parameters, and potentially target different types of neurons.
So we could adapt it for other neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or Huntington's diseases that also involve those harmful protein buildups.
Precisely. And imagine the possibilities beyond treating existing conditions. We could use this technology to unlock the secrets of the brain, to understand how different circuits work, and maybe even develop new tools for neuroscience research.
That's amazing. It's like opening a new chapter in brain science. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's come back to something you mentioned earlier, the importance of collaboration in this research.
It's crucial. This wasn't the work of a lone genius. It was a team effort. A beautiful symphony of minds from nanotechnology materials, science, neuroscience, pharmacology, and more.
It's inspiring to see such a diverse group of experts coming together, pooling their knowledge and skills to tackle a challenge as complex as Parkinson's.
And that's the beauty of science. It transcends borders and disciplines, all in the pursuit of understanding and improving the world around us. But our exploration isn't over yet.
Right. We still have much more to uncover about this groundbreaking research and its potential to revolutionize not only Parkinson's treatment, but also our understanding of the brain itself.
We'll delve further into those exciting possibilities in our final segment. Stay tuned.
And we're back for our final part of this deep dive into this incredible nano DBS technology. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it? From those protein-gobbling Pac-Man nanoparticles to the potential for revolutionizing treatment for a whole host of neurological disorders, it's mind-boggling.
It certainly paints an exciting picture of the future, and we were just discussing how this technology could be a game changer for brain science in general, not just for treating diseases.
Right. You mentioned something about brain-computer interfaces now that sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie.
It does a little bit.
Could you walk us through what those are and how this nano DBS technology might play a role?
Well, you're not far off with the science fiction comparison. Brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, are devices that create a direct link between the brain and, say, a computer or a prosthetic limb.
Okay.
You may have seen videos of paralyzed individuals using BCIs to control robotic arms with their thoughts or even type messages on a screen. It's truly remarkable.
It's incredible to think we're at a point where technology can tap into the power of the human mind like that. But where do the nanoparticles fit into this picture?
Right now, many BCIs rely on surgically implanted electrodes to detect and transmit brain signals. But imagine if we could achieve the same thing with nanoparticles without the need for invasive surgery. That's the potential this nano DBS technology offers.
So instead of electrodes, we could have these targeted nanoparticles acting as tiny sensors, picking up signals from specific groups of neurons and relaying that information to external devices.
Yes.
It's like upgrading from a bulky wired connection to a sleek wireless system.
Exactly. And because those nanoparticles can be designed to target very specific cell types, we could potentially achieve a level of precision and control that's simply not possible with current BCIs. This could open up a whole new world for individuals with disabilities, allowing them to interact with their environment in ways we can only imagine right now.
It's truly mind-blowing. But let's not forget about another huge challenge in treating brain disorders, getting medications past the blood-brain barrier. It's like a fortress protecting the brain, and many potentially life-saving drugs can't get through.
You're right, that barrier is a formidable obstacle, but imagine if we could use those same nanoparticles as tiny delivery trucks, carrying those medications across the barrier and directly to the cells that need them.
It's like a targeted missile system for drug delivery.
Yes.
No more relying on drugs that have to flood the entire body just to reach the brain. This could revolutionize the treatment of brain tumors, deliver gene therapies, and so much more.
Absolutely. The possibilities seem endless. And what's so exciting is that this research is just one example of the incredible ingenuity and collaboration happening in neuroscience and nanotechnology. Right now, there are so many brilliant minds working to decipher the secrets of the brain and develop new ways to heal and enhance it.
It feels like we're standing on the edge of a whole new era, an era where the seemingly impossible is becoming possible. But I want to shift gears for a moment and bring this back down to earth for our listener. For someone who may be personally affected by Parkinson's or has a loved one facing this disease, what's the key takeaway from this research? What message would you want them to hear?
I think the most important message is one of hope. This research, while still in its early stages, demonstrates that scientists are making real progress in understanding and finding new ways to treat Parkinson's. It shows that the scientific community is relentless in its pursuit of a cure.
It's not just about this one specific treatment, but about the momentum, the energy, and the commitment that's driving this field forward.
Exactly. And for those living with Parkinson's, I would say stay informed, stay engaged, and stay connected. Talk to your doctors about new research and treatment options. Connect with patient advocacy groups, and consider participating in clinical trials if you're eligible. Knowledge is power, especially when navigating a complex disease like Parkinson's.
Beautifully said. And I think that message of hope extends far beyond Parkinson's. It speaks to the power of human ingenuity, the importance of scientific collaboration, and the unwavering belief that we can overcome even the most daunting challenges. This deep dive has been a journey of discovery, and I hope it's left you, our listener, with a sense of wonder and a renewed sense of optimism for the future.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and never stop asking questions.